We're good. What's going on? I'm Galaxy. Welcome back to this devlog. If you've been checking it out, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. As the title says, today we're going to dive into the player character and stats. So, I want to briefly go over like what the stats are in the game, kind of a little bit of how they work in the background, my current setup for stats. Uh, I haven't done like a fine tuning of them yet, but I've kind of reworked them twice, and I think they're in a pretty good state. So just to go over the stats in gameplay again real quick. Plug my controller up. Let's dive in. So you open the stats by pressing the U key, and this brings up the current like main menu. So we have health, stamina, mana, strength, defense, intelligence, resistance, speed, size, and down here are the current powers the character has. So actually seeing this reminds me that I actually need to have that shown. So powers, I think, are related enough to stats that I want to show them in this video. But just to show how this works in the UI also is that by clicking on so this is the amount of points you gain, the plus 10, and in the parentheses, 20 is the current cost of the skills. So if we click on this, it costs 20 essence, and the character's max health increases by 20, and its health itself increases by 5, which is half of the value it's increased by. So if we click health again, it costs 30, and the health goes up by another 10 to 30. So I want to play around with like whether it should show how much health is gained, changing health values depending on how much you upgrade our character's current stats. Let's say if you get an item that increases your max health, should this stay the same? Should this change? So stuff like that. So for strength, defense, obviously those aren't easy to see visually, and but they basically increase the physical damage the characters do, and the damage with physical skills, the damage they take. I mean, standard RPG stats. Intelligence increases the damage of skills that involve using mana, and strength usually increases the damage of skills that involve using stamina. Defense reduces the damage of skills that or physical attacks, usually stuff that involves physical attacks from enemies, and resistance reduces damage from magical attacks from enemies or other players at some point. Speed is one that's easy to see. Easier to see than the others. If I have speed 7 and start from this wall and go to this pillar, it's a slight, all the speed increases are kind of slight, so you have to kind of have a lot to see a big difference. I'm planning on adding some particle effects like on the feet and stuff so that it's more visually obvious when a character has high speed. Like blur effects and stuff like that, but those are for a lot larger numbers. So that's speed, and then I also have size. So I want the player to be able to kind of like have different sizes. Here's an example on the training map that shows, a small spider. This is a big ass spider, a medium spider, and then a large spider. And then their size comparison to our assassin character. So if you increase the size by 1, super slight, probably, you can tell it's bigger than, maybe you can't tell it's bigger than what it was before, but it's slightly bigger. another one, and it looks like a pretty big leap, and I've ran out of essence, so I can't make it any larger. But of course I can just start this over. But here's an example of just the size difference. You know, before it was right around the size of this one. You upgrade the size by 2, it's around this one. My plan is to scale the size down, um, and also increase the characters like base strength and probably defense with size while also reducing the speed. So having a bigger size will cause, cause some detriment to your stats. So yeah, that's basically the skill menu. I'm sorry, I've been blocking most of that with my face. Uh, so here are the two that I was trying to show. Health and stamina. Let's just increase health more time just to show. Now it goes from 40 to 50 because it's been increased. And stamina and mana work similarly, and strength, all that. The increments are right now just of 10 for each level, basically. I want to play around with that, make it a little bit more, maybe consistent, or add in some different values depending on stuff. Like let's say, for example, the player has a speed power. Maybe reduce the amount of essence it takes for the player to increase their speed. Sounds kind of broken, but that's one of the ideas floating around. So yeah, that is the stats, has how you upgrade the stats in game, and a little bit of how they work from the UI. So if we go to which menu has my stats? Let's check this out. So the stats are variables on these are functions. I'm silly. Stats are variables on the player character. A lot of them public just so I can track them on the HUD at this moment. But when I change over all my stuff to interfaces, it'll be more obvious. Those will be private, more obvious. Sorry. So for the health stats, we have the main health or max health, but just health for simplicity's sake, and then HP is the value you see on the HUD. Let me actually just pull up my HUD real quick so I can use that as a reference. Oh, let me show, the shield's kind of not a stat. It's like a status effect. Yeah, so we'll save that. So, the max health will be the value shown here on health. Actually, let me just showing these things is also something I'm learning. So this is health and this is HP. So when I increase the health, it literally increases the health value, and the HP value increases by 5. So kill speed is related to the increase in the stats that you see. Right now, these are attached to ticks, which, with what I've learned, I don't like myself. But I definitely don't recommend attaching so much stuff to the tick value. I even have the movement attached to it. So my plan is to to completely change this, so that, why is that so that they're attached to like timers that only play while the player's health is below its max value. A lot cleaner. There's not a constant tick that's triggering these functions. And will it have a huge impact on performance? Probably not, because even these are checking, well, they're not even checking. It's just a clamp to make sure it doesn't go above the max value, which is stamina. So definitely works. And if I wasn't planning on, well, I'm planning on improving it. So this is just one example, and I want to go into that a little bit later after I go through this other stuff. So each stat, stamina and mana have are similar. They have the max stat, the current stat, so max mana, current mana, and then a regen. My stamina regen. Hmm. Am I still using that regen technique? I think I might have dropped that. Yeah, I'm just doing it relevant to the visible value. So that'll be something I change. I want to set a heal. So that was in the works. Set a regen speed. So let's say if the player wants to have faster regeneration, you want to have like a Wolverine style build. Well, where like you maybe just have max a lot of health regen and maybe your damage and speed aren't as high, but you can regen real fast or you know what have you. So that's going to be something I set up during one of these videos, but right now I'm still doing overviews. In a lot of ways, I am just showing myself relearning this system and doing some bug checks and writing what kind of things I want to add during this video series. So, let's see. The current issue I'm having is just with how I have it set up. What the cleanest way of doing regen is. My current idea was to just, make a drop down for the health upgrade and see if I could add regen to that. That's still in the works. So right now, mana is just not set up, so that's not connected. But this is just the current regen system that's in there. I originally just had, instead of strength and defense and all that, it was just like, it was just attack. It was attack and range attack, or yeah, melee and range attack. So these files are still named that, and they still kind of work. So that's what they are right now. Strength, pretty self-explanatory for classic RPG games. When the current character's weapon, so whether it's give me 1 second here to show. So each one has this damage collision, which goes over the species weapon type. So let's say let's see, I need to get the construction script up, and I think they either changed it on Unreal Engine 5 or I have just completely forgot how to pull it up when it closed. So give me just a moment. There's absolutely an easier way to do this. I don't know what I just did. Accidentally clicking on things for the win. Darn. Oh well. Quick. And if you've been checking this out, I really appreciate it. I just actually got a new job. I am working for a company called Third Pie Studios. Oh, that's so obvious. it's in functions. If you need your construction script, it's in functions. If I just opened the functions, I would have saw it. I was just looking in graphs. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure I knew how I was changing this code. So we're gonna go to you and you, and we're gonna change your species. This is how I kind of test a lot of stuff. First by rummaging around, finding what I need, and then checking out what I need in the viewport. So if we change this from warrior to spider, it's going to change to the model that I use for the spider. The damage collision has moved now to the spider's face. And that's where it is for them. For the golem, it's on their little axe head polearm thing. It's like it's a sharp stick. Can I slow this down? Thank you. And on each species in the game, they all have them in different locations. For the assassin slash fighter, it's on their hand. And this one is interesting because it actually moves depending on which limb the assassin's attacking with. So if they're attacking with their feet, it'll move to their feet, or if it's attacking with their left hand, it'll move to their left hand. So just want to show where where this damage collision is on all these different characters. So on the main event graph, trying to control all your tabs is like very important, but geez, it's tedious. So I'm looking for overlapping the damage collision, which is definitely in the thing I had up. So this triggers the attack. This is an enhanced input action. If you're using Unreal Engine 5, I definitely recommend using enhanced input action. I'll make another video just going over what the enhanced input action is, how to set it up. It's super simple in Unreal Engine 5, but I definitely prefer that to its original input system, and it allows you to set up your game so that players can like change inputs pretty easily without you having to set a bunch of preset stuff to allow certain keys. So definitely recommend using enhanced input. So here's that damage collision that we're looking at when this is a little messy, but it works. So let me just change up a couple things that shouldn't break anything and might add a little bit of neatness to all this. Might is a strong word because look at this thing. First off, I'm getting the display name of the actor that is hit. I want to know who was hit and make sure, I'm hitting the intended target, at least for my logs. Actor has been valid, so if you hit an actor or an enemy that's died, right, it's going to be invalid and shouldn't trigger anything. Or if you're just hitting air or another actor or something that doesn't exist, or if the call is made to something that doesn't exist, I want that to be invalid and not go through all these other checks that it's going to do. So this is for when it hits a projectile. There's going to be some different interactions for if a player strikes a projectile attack, and depending on if the player is stronger, if their attack is stronger, it'll destroy the projectile. If not, it'll reduce the damage of the projectile and reduce the damage received by the player. So that's that, and that probably okay. This get owner is here. I was wondering why this get owner is here. This get owner is here to make sure that it also if a compare though, I will make sure while this get owner is here before I mess with it too much. It might be for different. There's definitely a reason that's there. It's checking for self and owner, which should be self. Sometimes you don't know why you do things. I need to double check that and make sure I understand why that's there. When you're working in blueprints, commenting, you just press the C key. I recommend highlighting whatever whatever you want to instead of just clicking C, holding C and then clicking and then moving the comment box into whatever area. Just highlight what you want. Click the C key on the keyboard. And then type it up. I also recommend changing the color from the base one if you have a certain flow for what comments are that you need to address or are just there to help you know what's going on. Recommend having different colors for that. For me, I like using purple. It stands out, and it's like, oh, this means I need to look at this and know what's going on. Also, on the color picker, if you highlight a color and drag it up here, it'll pop up here. So that way, if you need that specific color again, you can just click on it from the color wheel instead of having an eyeball every time. So after that, this is actually Unreal Engine 5's apply damage system. They have apply damage and take any damage functions already kind of integrated, which are also in Unreal Engine 4, but they're also in Unreal Engine 5. For this, the damaged actor is just put in. So in this case, it'll be the other actor. And the damage causer is going to be the player character. I want to know who the damage causer is for aggro setup. So right now, for example, there is no aggro. Haven't set it up yet, but just the enemies are supposed to be focusing on whoever's doing the most damage. Later on in the game, I wanted to focus on like, is this who's closer to me, right? Who's in my face and who's not. Maybe somebody's doing more damage, but this thing is in my way and not letting me get past. So I'm gonna focus on the thing in my way, the thing that's causing damage separately, so that we have clear hierarchy of who the current target should be, and then spawn emitter at a location. So real simple. A little hit pop animation. You've seen that if you've seen me hit stuff. When I should be showing. Which I'm using the damage collision. I went from stats to damage collision, which technically is, yeah, I've gone a little bit off track, but I'm still showing stuff, so it's fine. It's fine. So we're gonna just walk over, smack them once, pop. That's the hip hop animation. Right now, and something I can fix really quickly now that I've seen it and remember, the location is the get actor location. So this got disconnected from this, and this should be occurring on the one that is hit, not the hitter. So, and even to make this, well, let me show this and then let me make it even cleaner. So, I'm not full screened. The emitter is spawning on the enemy being hit instead of on the player character. So now I want to make this even a little bit cleaner by getting this sweep result. I'm going to break it, and then I'm going to get the impact point and replace that this. So now, collapse this. So now it's actually going to, I'm going to leave this actor location here and then replace it after I know it works. Now the emitter is actually going to spawn on the place on the hit actor where the collision happens. So if we go over here and smack them, ooh, 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 it don't work. Ooh, why is that? Let's check it out. So let's see. Open over big hit result impact point on location. Ooh, location of the actual contact point of the trace shape of the surface equal to the location of the initial overlap value. This one's issue about blueprints is this should work, but for some reason does not. Let me compile and save it one more time. Maybe I wanted location. I'm not using trace. So instead of impact, not trace, I'm not using lines. So maybe I want location. And it'll, yeah, oh, I'm not using hit. That's the thing. I'm using overlap for this. Ooh, it still doesn't work. Well, look at that. There has to be something going on with the sweep result then. That'll be for another time. This is supposed to be a video about stats, and I've gotten distracted. So I will check in with that later and see what's going on there. But for right now, I'm going to set it back to the actor location. You smack it, and it's... Okay, there we go. Now, hip hop is occurring on the enemy character. So that's that. The reason I wanted to show that is because I wanted to show this. So right now, the attacking with just the damage collision is just getting the strength value of the player of the current player character. Not super ideal. When I start adding in some other things like the powers and stuff like that, I'm gonna have to go over whether this is a good way for that damage to be transitioned. So for example, let's go to the master enemy. Where's your master? Where's your parent? Oh, bitch. Are these all not from a parent class? I have them all their own classes? No. Even worse, they're all enemy assassin is the main class, is the parent class. At least I have a parent class. I absolutely need to change that. I think I just had something happen, but I hope my stream is still going. It looks okay. I think we're okay. So we're just gonna keep going. So what I'm just gonna do here is do a quick fix of this. Make your assassin one. I'm just gonna do my the naming convention I have for this game is if it's a parent class, we put M dash in front of it. So I know it's a master class. And we're going to compile and save. And then we're going to rename this back to assassin. And you're not letting me for some reason. It's fine for right now. So this is the parent class. This is also a parent class, which is issues with duplicating. So what we're going to do here is go to class settings. we're going to parent class, and we're going to go to m underscore enemy, and then we're going to reparent this one so that now enemy assassin, and you might not like that a little bit because you were originally the parent, but that's going to be okay because a lot of your functions are now functions that, so I'm just going to remove some of you. I apologize, this is not related to stats, but that is the nature of my devlogs. So if you're along for the ride, I hope you enjoy it. As much as debugging and looking around is enjoyable. Let me compile. Species, probably all of these are gonna just need to be deleted because they already exist and most of them are in use. Gameplay tag. I should have just made a child of it instead of replacing this whole thing. Yeah, that's gonna be what I do. So let me be an example. You want to replace a parent, if you want to replace a parent actor, just duplicate it, delete the original one, and then create a child. And that'll make your life so much easier. Oh, and for some reason your name is still taken. I need to rebuild my project files so that it knows that name is no longer taken so I can set that name. Alright, the reason I did all that is because I wanted to show that when the enemy receives damage, right? I see. Okay. That's interesting way I did that. There's a cast to the companion. If the damage causes the companion and it is valid, um, set the companion that hit them to their target. So, this was my quick fix to aggro. If a companion hits an enemy, the enemy's like, I'm gonna attack you now. And if it is not a companion and that cast fails, and I even have a log set, set self to target, which is gonna be the companion that hits it. If it's not, reduce the health. If the health is less than or equal to 0, the enemy is going to be dead. If it's not, there used to be a stun meter, and I think there is for the boss character, but for the lower ones, they don't have a stun right now. I think it used to be there, and then I've changed it, but there is some stuff around that. I want certain hits to, like, cause different knockback animations and cause stun effects and stuff like that. So that's also in the works. Let me just make sure I write that down so that I know that I need to make sure that's somewhere in there. Okay. Just wrote a quick note. So do once. This is to prevent damage being like super stacked. There's a brief window where the player can or the enemy cannot get hit again. Let's see. When they're hit, we remove the collision on their weapon. And when the hit is ended, there's a 5-second delay before it's reset. Oh, okay. So this was my current fix to stop the enemy from getting stun locked. So this get hit animation, just again, we're not stats. We're not in stats, so never mind. The reason I wanted to show this was just to show that the damage going in is just directly reducing health from the enemy. That's not what we want. Health should be, the damage received should be reduced by the enemy's defense. Ah, that's what I wanted to show and then do, because that's important. And then I also want to do the same thing for the player character. We're looking for the player character. Their do once is related to kind of a similar thing. We don't want them getting hit, lock spammed, so there's a brief window where after the player is hit, they can't be hit again. It's 0.8 seconds, so pretty long in fighting game terms, but not super long. Damage will be different versus, or damage will function different, whether the player has a shield or doesn't. I guess shield is stats. I'm gonna show shield and show how shield works real quick. If it has a shield, then it'll, and the incoming damage, and this is just checks to make sure I'm not doing stupid. It is stupid though. If incoming damage is greater than the shield, then we get the remaining damage from the shield and apply to the health. So if it's greater, we automatically just remove the shield, set the health, and the incoming damage is subtracted. Well, we do that, and then we make sure if there's any other shields that the player has. Is that even true? Let's see. We look at total shield HP by a strong enemy. And that damage that the enemy does is greater than the total health of all of the player's shields. So right now in the game, the shields stack on effectiveness. So you can have like 3 different shields of differing values, and they are seen. Right now I only have one type of shield, so I can just show stacking multiple of them in here. So if we go mana shield, I don't remember which hotkey that is, and then we apply it. My shield's not appearing. Something I gotta check. So right now the shields are on like a 10-second timer, and right now their value is 4. So, and that didn't even look like it happened correctly. So it's right now I have 4 shields. Let me just pause this actually so I can show it without having to rush. Okay, I stopped it probably like right before one of those shields went away. So it's gonna say 0, but that shield is still there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 shields, a total of 16 shield HP, 4 for each one. So when one goes, it's gonna take away whatever that value is. So let's say an enemy hits them for like 20 health, right? All those shields are gonna go away, and then there's gonna be 4 damage taken away from the player health. So that's how shields currently work. It might be synonymous with armor in gaming terminology, but it's same concept. So after those are removed, we take the remainder of the incoming damage that came from the shield HP. So in the example I gave, if it does 20 and the shield HP is only 16, it'll then reduce the HP by 4. And yeah, then it will continue going through this branch. If health is greater than or equal to 0, then we turn and face whatever hit us. We should probably do that regardless of if the health is greater than or equal to 0. Yeah. Maybe there's a reason it's there. We'll leave it for now. And then the player's dead if the health is greater than or equal to 0. And then after it's dead, it'll play its death animation, and then the defeated screen will pop up. If the health is not greater than or equal to 0, it'll still get hit. We're going to turn off weapon collision to make sure that if the weapon was, for example, being swung while the character's hit, it still won't cause damage to the enemy. We're going to turn off aiming because you should stop aiming if you get hit. And I don't know why this is here. Maybe there's a reason at some point, but it doesn't even be there now. And yeah, so all that happens when the player takes damage. But if we've seen, the incoming damage is still not reduced by the player's defense. So that is something I want to set up. And is shield related to defense? No, it should only affect health directly. So let's see. Why are you all the way over here? All right, so like I said, the defense, strength, defense, intelligence, resistance, speed, all those were stats that I added in a little bit after the fact. So the main damage interaction doesn't have those included, but that's why I'm doing this review stuff to show the current state of how everything's working and to make sure I do those changes. So we've been going for almost 45 minutes now. I still have a lot to go over, but that's going to be it for today. If you tuned in, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. And I'm going to be making more of these in the future. Just going over Unreal Engine, making those adjustments to the game as needed, and we'll see it grow together. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, I don't know if I can help you with your concerns, but hey, let me know. Throw them in the comments. And yeah, we'll see what we can do. Thank you. It's Thursday. Have a beautiful day. Peace.